Yoo-hoo!
We only
Get it,
lost
Joey.
6 minutes, Nancy. I
That's
hope,
okay.
you know, I know you had everything prepared for at least an hour and a half, but
No.
let's try to jam it into 54 minutes here, okay?
Okay, sounds
Nancy,
great.
looking great. You know, I
And
always see you fleetingly at different reunions that we have,
yeah,
and man, you still look great, man. I
well,
can't believe it. I always wanted to tell you that, but you never stood still enough for me to say that. So, Nancy,
yes,
tell us,
Joey.
tell us about yourself. Tell us how you got to the point where you became a model. Tell us about your background, where you're
Okay,
from, and things like that.
okay. So I was discovered in Falmouth, Massachusetts, when I was a live-in babysitter on Cape Cod. I was dating, I don't know if you remember Frank Zaranko.
Oh,
So
sure, Frank.
yeah, yeah.
He
So
was a
he
male
was,
model with me.
yeah. So he was also a bartender at the Casino by the Sea in the summer in Falmouth, and a model, you know, in the fall. So, and I started dating him, of course. So when he got back in the fall, Mademoiselle asked him, "Do you know any cute girls?" Because they did that, the college issue every August. They picked 10
Yes, yes,
college girls.
yes.
So he said, "Well, my girlfriend's kind of cute." So I went up with my mother to Mademoiselle magazine, along with 200 other girls. And my mother said, "Look, if this doesn't work out, you know, forget it, you're coming home." And I had no intention of being a model. I mean, I didn't even know what it was, quite honestly. So I went up for the interview and I got the gig for the August issue. I got the cover and inside. And then they gave me a contract to only work for Mademoiselle. And I got 10 or, well, it started off with 10 covers, but I think it was many more.
Wow.
But that's how I got my start. And, you know, it was pretty interesting because I didn't even know what a model was. So here we go.
Tell us about your childhood, though. You come from a very big family.
Yes, I come from one of 11 in Lowell, Massachusetts, big Irish family. Everybody in the neighborhood had 9, 10, 15 kids. Great childhood, grow up, you know, playing outside, and it was a blast. And then, you know, then this happened, and my mother, the rule in my house was the minute you finish college, you're out because they had other kids to take care of.
Yeah.
So this actually worked out well because I graduated from LaSalle College and then I moved to New York. So,
How'd you wind up at Elite?
oh, well, this is interesting. So I was shooting with Patrick Demarchier, you know, Patrick,
Yeah.
the French mafia there. And he calls Johnny, and because I didn't have an agent, I didn't know what an agent was. I was just kept shooting, you know. And so he called Johnny, and immediately they sent down, I don't know if you remember Christine,
Oh,
but
sure, sure.
so she came down immediately, grabbed me, took me to lunch with that other French model who tried to attack me in the cab. Michelle
Oh,
Castellano. I mean,
oh,
nice
right,
guy.
Michelle. I represented him.
Yeah, and he had a great restaurant, but I was like scared out of my boots. So anyway, then I just went up to Johnny and I signed with Johnny. So it
So
was
you
pretty.
were working just for Mademoiselle, and then Patrick Demarchier called Johnny,
Yeah,
and that's how they signed
yeah,
you.
yeah. So it was pretty interesting, and I signed at the same time with Kim, Alexis, and Kelly Emberg, and the three of us got scooted off to Rome to do Italian Bazaar. I mean that summer, so it was pretty crazy, and I'll never forget Kim had the hugest suitcase and she packed an iron and a hair dryer. I mean, she packed everything. And I was like, what are you doing? But we had a blast and young kids. And, you know, Johnny was, and we stayed at, what was that famous hotel, Joey, in Rome where they put us up? I forget, but it's
Oh, the
the
Hagler.
Grand, the
The,
Grand Hotel,
the,
the Grand
oh, the
Hotel in Rome.
Grand.
Yeah.
The
So
Hagler was
that,
a little too expensive.
but you know, Johnny wined and dined us, and he was a perfect gentleman. You know, he was fantastic. You
Well,
know, he never was
that's what I
always
hear.
respectful.
I
Yeah,
Well, that's not what I hear. I became a good friend of his
Yeah.
in the 70s and 80s. Uh, but you were one of the three beautiful blondes. I mean, I would look at you, Kelly, and Kim, and say to myself, "Wow, I wish they were here with us at Ford's," you know.
Right.
And you girls really did so well at that
Yeah.
time. Tell me about your some experiences.
Well, no, so, we were just really friends. I mean, we started all together. We all had plenty of work. We weren't competitive because, you know what, quite frankly, when I got a cover, I was like, I thought it was normal. I thought every girl gets a cover. I honestly didn't think twice. And I don't think Kim or Kelly really did either. We were all so friendly, and we had such great camaraderie, and we would hang out at night. And there was only one time one girl said to me, Nancy, can you just let somebody else have a cover? But she's still a very good friend of mine. And actually, Joey, she was with you. So, and I was like, look, I don't decide who goes on the cover. So, but we just had a great little kid friendship. It was really sweet. I was probably the most wild out of the three of us, but we were all at 54 together and danced and had fun and all that stuff.
Leave it to the good Irish Catholic girl to be the wildest, you know.
Well, I know. Well, what do you expect? I mean, you're raised in that Catholic school, all girls school. I mean, and
Oh
then you get
wow!
to New York, so look out, here I come. Yeah.
I want.
But at one point, my mother came down. She did a sneak attack, and had just gotten home from 54 with
Oh
my Mod
Jesus!
Freeze on shoes, and her and my father came to my apartment, and they were just like, "If you don't get it together, you're coming home." So,
Well, before we get into 54 and that time of our lives, you are modeling.
yeah,
Bruce Weber sends me a guy by the name of Jeff Aquilon,
right,
who played water polo at Pepperdine, I believe.
yes,
Jeff Aquilon takes the business by storm.
right,
All of a sudden, this guy from California, who I gotta say was very good looking, and becomes a top male model
yeah,
and starts making more money than I've ever seen a model make.
yeah,
And sure enough, you two are going to get married. What happened
yeah.
there?
Well, I think we met on a Mademoiselle shoot, to be honest, and then I don't know. I guess then we just started dating. But of course, we fell head over heels about each other. We were young kids, and then we worked a lot with Perry Ellis, and we did the Perry Ellis show, and then, I
One
got
thing,
married, and it was kind of, I was young. We were both young, and it was kind of an industry marriage. We were Perry Ellis did all our wedding and wedding party, and it was in Vogue, and it was very
that's
beautiful, and
interesting.
all you guys came in. Yeah,
An industry marriage.
yeah,
Jeff was very straight. I don't even know if he drank.
hardly.
He was a very straight guy. And I remember him, he was always into computers, even
Oh,
back then.
wait, I have a really good story about that. So we get married on the honeymoon. We go to a beautiful place, I think, called Hilton Head, stayed at a gorgeous hotel, and he brought his computer, which was the size of, a huge TV, brought his surfboard, his bike, and then he decided we weren't close enough to the beach, so he moved us to a cheesy motel by the beach, and I started crying, and I said, I have to go.
That's Jeff.
Yeah,
The bicycle, the computer, he was always on it.
and
He
the
was
surfboard. Yeah,
a surfboard,
yeah,
typical California, but I've got to say he took the business by
yes,
storm.
he
Uh,
did. Yeah,
and I never realized a male model could make that much money. And sure enough, he was the one. But let me tell you, I was at your wedding. I
yes. So
remember
you
going up to see the
well,
wedding because I was invited along with a lot of other industry people. And
Yeah.
I've got to say, you know, I remember Perry Ellis, because you did work for him, did all the gowns and the bridesmaid
Yeah.
outfits and, you
Yeah.
know, your dress and everything else. And he was there too. And I mean, you were right. It was an industry wedding, you know.
Yeah. It was really beautiful. And I think Eric Bowman did the photographs for Vogue, and it was just glorious. And Jed Crisella and Isaac Mizrahi were there because they assisted Perry at the time. And
Yeah.
they were just so much fun to be with, and both very good friends of mine to this day. So, you know, it was just a wonderful event. It really was.
It's amazing because, you know, Isaac had a fabulous career after Perry Ellis.
Oh,
And poor Perry
yeah,
died before his time, you know.
yeah,
He was a young guy, but I've got to say the wedding was magnificent.
yeah,
We had a ball, and I think everybody up there was crazy. We all went up there together. We all went home together,
right.
and did we party until we got off,
Oh, yeah.
until we got back to New York. We were having a ball.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
So, tell me, your years at Elite with Johnny,
right.
going to Rome, going to Paris, and all those places. What's your most memorable trip?
Oh, I would have to say the one with Kim and Kelly for Italian Bazaar. You know, you work till all hours in the night, but then during the day, you know, we'd walk down the street and all the Italian guys would just flutter around us, and Kim would be very, you know, defensive. Kelly was scared. I would laugh. And then we ended up somehow in a fountain in front of the Grand Hotel. I don't know how, but we were in the fountain in front of the hotel. I mean, those were the days, and you know, we just had a great time all together.
You know,
You know, all the models were so nice to each other. There was none of this bitchiness or jealousy.
competitiveness.
No, there really.
Everybody got along like a family.
It was like a family. I mean, took it more seriously than others. Actually, Gia wasn't so nice to me, but that's okay. I worked with her a lot, but yeah. But on a whole, every shoot was fun. Every day was fun.
I've
You
got to,
know.
it was a lot of fun because I remember hanging out, you know, having you come to dinner and come to the softball games. And I remember playing Elite. So Ford played this
Yeah.
versus Elite and versus Wilhelmina and versus Zoli. And we all had a great time. And then after the games, we'd all go out together. We'd all go
No,
down to
I
Little
know.
Italy,
Yeah.
and we'd have a ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got,
I just still have those pictures. I still
oh,
have
I've
those
got to look
pictures.
at them. You got
Yeah.
to show them to me.
Yeah.
I've got one question. This
Yeah.
is an Eileenism. Eileen used to tell me, don't send the girls to Milano, send them to Paris.
Right.
I said, why, Eileen? She said, because there are more playboys in Milano than in Paris.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
No.
really?
Well, no. So here's the thing. I never got sent to Europe to do pictures like a lot of girls.
Yeah.
I got sent for Italian Bazaar, Italian Vogue. I got sent for American Vogue to do the collections. Milan was mostly with Marco Glaviano for Italian Vogue, and that was a ton of Playboys. And then I had John Sahag doing my hair, another Playboy. But so I had enough Playboys between the photographers and the hairdressers. But yeah, Milan is full of Playboys. Yeah, for
So
sure.
she was right. You see, I never saw that. I always thought France was more, that Paris was more
Well,
full of Playboys.
they both had their share of
I
Playboys.
think so.
Yeah,
I think so. You know,
yeah.
I remember the famous story in Milan of one friend of the agency when he found out that girls were coming
Oh,
to New York. He'd
yeah.
show up at the airport with his limousine.
Oh, for
Not limousine, he had
sure.
a Rolls
Yeah.
Royce. And he'd pick them up and take them to the agency.
Oh no, it was crazy. I mean, I mean, thankfully, I was really lucky because Johnny must have put the word out, don't touch A, B, and C girl,
Yeah,
which I was one of them, and just pause off. So I was very lucky, but there were some girls that were quite traumatized by what
by their
happened with the Playboy.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were one of the lucky ones. It seems that uh, I don't want to get into this today,
Yeah.
but there were kids that were taken advantage of,
Yeah.
uh, and I think well, that's another story.
Well,
But so
but also, I don't forget, I grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts, which is a pretty tough town,
yeah,
so I could and I had 7 brothers, so I could kind of handle myself pretty well.
yeah, you
So
know how to take care of yourself with guys, that's for
yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, I was fine. It was
Now,
it
were
was
the
no problem.
7 younger than you or older?
I have 2 older and the rest younger. Yeah.
Well, the 2 older ones must have really uh, cramped your style or stood on.
Well, we rough and tumble. We played football in the backyard, so that's what we did as kids. So
So now you're in the city and
right,
you're here when everything is happening, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and everybody's going wild and everybody
yeah,
knows each other, and all of a sudden we all go to 54. So
yes,
tell
we
us
did.
about your days at 54. No, I shouldn't say your days, your nights at 54.
My nights at 54 turned into my days at work. So it was just a thing we did, and I remember I came in 78, so 54 was out and up and running, and I was there almost every night, and I went with a whole gang. Jeff and a friend of mine called Rich Wall and Dale, who's on now. Hey, Dale. And we just went and hung out and had fun and danced. And, the beautiful thing about it was there was no cell phones,
Yeah.
and no pictures and no Instagram. And so we just all just loved each other, danced, hung out, had fun. Sure, we had too much to drink, but those were the days, and it was just the best thing ever. I actually think they tried to replicate that, um, tried to open another Studio 54 kind of place with no phones, and it didn't work because
Yeah.
people can't survive without their stupid phone. So anyway, it was the time of my life. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I think people spend too much time on their phones, and they were sitting down. I could see dates at a restaurant, at a great restaurant, and you see the girl on the phone and the boy on the
I
phone.
know. It's
It's
just,
horrible. Nobody talks to each other much anymore, uh, and I think it's really socially killed what we had.
oh,
We
100%. I mean, Joey, we were running to payphones. I had a pile of quarters in my pocket,
exactly,
and we would
exactly.
just use payphones. And, we had, what do you call it, the message machines, at home, to get a message. And, yeah, that
Yeah,
was
the
it. And
answering service. Yep.
oh, yeah, yeah, fancy people had answering service. I just had the answering
Well, I had
machine.
an answering service,
Yeah, of course.
and then they tried to. We had beepers, but we never answered them. I don't know why we had them. I got a beeper. I remember when they first came out,
Right.
and I never answered it. And I got to tell you a funny story. Kim Charlton, who was one of your
Yeah.
models, who I married, and I was married for 21 years. I'll never forget. Jerry Ford said, "Joe, you have to get a phone in your car." And I said, "Why, Jerry?" He said, "Well, in case we need you when you're driving up to the country or back." I said, "All right." So, of course,
Yeah.
I brought my car in. They put the phone in. So we're going up the country, and my wife, Kim, gets on in the car, and she says, "You got a phone?" I said, "Yes." She said, "That's disgusting. Now I'll never be able to get a chance to talk to you. That was my time. You and I would
Oh,
discuss everything going to the country." Well, you
oh
know
boy.
who was on the phone the next time we went to? My wife. Never got off the phone
Oh,
for the
was it?
whole ride up. Called all the
Yeah.
friends, all the girlfriends, everything. And I just had it there in case there was an emergency. you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that was the dawn of the cell phone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
They're, yeah.
well, now
That's what we.
with this messenger kills it. You know, it really, people get messages, they send messages when you're in the middle of working or in the middle of a date or in the middle of something
Yeah.
important. You know, let me tell you a funny Studio 54 story.
Yeah.
I would go to 54 and I'd stay out very late, and I'd go home, shower, and go to the office. Now, I'd be in the office and a photographer or a client would be calling and screaming and yelling that one of the models is late.
Yeah.
And Eileen would be going, "Where is she? What happened?" I say, "Eileen, tell the client or the photographer he was with her dancing last night at 54.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows where she is, it should be him. And if they stayed out past me, she's still sleeping like he should be sleeping."
No, Joey, listen, the thing is, we would go right from 54 to work. I can point out covers I did,
Yeah, a lot of
actually.
people did that.
Yeah.
A lot of people
And
did that.
yeah, and shoots that I did right from 54. I'm not, it's not my
But a lot of models and a lot of everybody were late due to the nights at
late
54.
or late or
Late.
cancel and
Well, they
or
canceled, they
cancel.
late or canceled. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got charged a lot of money when you canceled. It happened to me. You get charged a lot of money.
Yep. We used to charge them for the day rate. We
Here
used
you
to charge
go.
the model. The model used to get whatever that day was. She had to pay the photographer. We got
Yeah,
the photographer would try to say, "Well, I've got production, I've got this, I've got hired an elephant, I've
yeah,
got blah, 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 blah."
yeah,
We'd
yeah.
say, "No, we'll only give you the day rate, whatever
No,
she
no,
was
no.
booked for."
Yeah, yeah, no. No. I had to pay the full amount for everybody when I
Really?
canceled. Oh yeah,
Well, you
I
see,
think it was up to 10,
if you had a
10,000.
good agent, you wouldn't have had it done
Oh,
that. May
oh,
Johnny
well,
rest in peace. I'm sorry, John, but
yeah, exactly, exactly. But speaking of that, I see Sandy's on. Thank God for the makeup artists back in those days because they saved us, and also the hairdressers. I remember walking into from a night out, and the hairdresser said, "Oh my God, you didn't even wash your hair." So he took me in the back and he washed my hair and set me all up. But thank God for the makeup and hair artists back then. They were
they
amazing. They got us
were
together.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they were as tired as you were,
No
because they would
kidding.
all be there too. And you'd get
Yeah.
hair, makeup, and model and photographer. Everybody who was out all night partying was there at the set,
Yeah, making you look good. Yeah, they
making
did.
you look good.
Look at Sandy. Sandy just said clients were scared. Yeah, they were scared.
They were.
Yeah,
It was the greatest of times. I mean, nobody had a bad word for anybody, and
yeah.
everybody got over their act of anger. I
Oh,
must
yeah.
say, the clients, no matter how much they screamed and yelled, half of them were there too. They
Yeah,
may have not stayed out as late,
yeah.
but they were partying also,
No,
and
I know. It was the 80s. What are you going to do? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I never forget Sack screaming and yelling at bookers, and bookers would start crying. They'd be so mean to the booker that the booker would start crying. I remember Monique, when she worked for us,
yeah.
at Ford, she'd cry when the photographer or the client would yell at her. She'd cry and say, "Here, talk to him. I can't talk to him."
Well, no, but Saks was really bad, and I was working with Max Pinnell, the hairdresser, who was hysterical. And for some reason, every time we saw each other, we just couldn't stop laughing. And we were doing a shoot for Saks, and they just got so mad at us, and I think they kicked me out or kicked him out, but we just couldn't stop laughing. I mean, I suppose we had been out the night before, but Saks was pretty tough. Yeah, they were
Now,
tough.
let me ask you a question. Were you ever called to act? Did you ever want to be an actor? Did you ever audition for anything? And did you ever train to be an actor?
No, you know what? Every time I went up for a commercial, I was super nervous. It wasn't, I couldn't, I could certainly do photography, walking, doing a walk and talk video for a commercial. I couldn't do it. I probably did about three, but there was no talking involved. I just got completely nervous. I just couldn't do it. And then I took some acting lessons back in Boston, and it just didn't go well. It was not my thing. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, because a lot of times guys and girls are called, they say they see them in the magazines or they see them in ads and say, wow, I'd love to use her in a movie. And they go and they audition, and most of the time they're not ready, unless they've studied a little and
No.
worked at their craft,
I mean, Andy McDowell was phenomenal, and she started right away. I mean, Andy and I went way back, and we used to model together, but she started acting, as a kid, and she was good. And she had
Yeah, she was very good.
She had a very good agent. But it's very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult.
Was she a kid actress? Was she, before she started modeling, did she act?
I don't know. I just know we
Yeah.
modeled together a lot. And she was lovely and still is, the
Yeah,
nicest person on the planet. But, and just phenomenal actress. I mean, I've seen every
she's
movie.
terrific.
Yeah.
Because I remember her as a model, and then all of a sudden she started acting, and I haven't seen her do one bad thing,
No.
And she's always good.
Her daughter is off the charts as well.
Yes, her daughter acts too now. She's doing very well.
Yeah.
And another girl that I represented that really never acted, Kim Basinger, Kim
Oh, right.
Basinger.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she won the Academy Award.
No.
Went out there on a TV series and never came back, and wound up winning the Academy Award for, I forget what movie it was, China.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. But she had a great career in front of her. So we had a lot of kids that made the crossover, a lot of girls and guys that made the crossover from modeling to acting. It was like a farm team for actors, And,
Sure.
and a lot of actors deny they were ever modeling, but they all made a living doing TV and modeling before they became these actors,
Well,
and
and the commercials paid a lot of money, and if you got a commercial, it was great. So, but I didn't do that many.
Oh, you didn't? You
No,
see, I would think you must have done hair and makeup commercials.
No, you know what the problem was back then, Joey? I remember now, because I was never really a commercial girl because my teeth back then were very crooked. And I remember the agent always telling me, Nancy, you've got to straighten your teeth, straighten your teeth, straighten your teeth. Because in commercial work, you really have to have everything perfect. And my teeth weren't perfect. They would retouch them on all the covers and everything like that. So, I mean, I just got my teeth straightened in 2020. So I was a little late to the party, but it's okay.
I got to say, they look great.
Thank you. Thanks. That's what COVID did. So
tell me, you modeled for how many years?
Well, let's see. It's hard to say. I mean, I started in 1978. I worked up until probably my 50s, mid 50s. I'm 66 now. So, and I was with Iconic Focus and Patty and the girls, Jill Perlman, and Lori. But I just said I retired. I don't know, 5 years ago, I said I'm done. I can't do these castings anymore. I don't want anybody taking my picture. I don't like the whole thing about it.
The way the business was, right?
It's so
business is.
Yeah, it's so different. We were talking about this prior to getting on, and back in the day, there was just like, I don't know, 20 girls that worked, and 20 great guys, and but now it's just like all these influencers, and you have to have gray hair. I have not a gray hair in my head, so you know, it's just hard to place me in a photograph. Like, how old is she? What is she? You know, is she old? So, you know, and I'm certainly not going to dye my hair gray just to do a modeling gig. But so, oh, Martin, oh my God. I'm just looking at who popped up.
Summer of
Esme's on.
'77, scouting.
I know. So anyway, that's the deal about that. I like what I'm doing now. I'm in real estate and I love it, and that's what I want to do. You
I
know?
think it's very impersonal today because
Yeah.
most clients don't want to see you until the very end.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of sending pictures through the internet.
Yeah.
Agents send the pictures, managers send the pictures. You're asked to send your pictures. And also, a lot of times you're asked to audition. You know, put
Yeah.
your phone on, say a few words or say these lines and send them in, or hold your phone up and turn left, turn right, you
Yeah.
know, and submit it. So
Yeah.
it's not like the old days where you were able to sit down and talk to a photographer for 10 minutes, and where you talk to a client for 10 minutes, where
Yeah.
you knew a little about them and they knew a little about you.
Yeah.
It's become very impersonal, I think.
Well, yeah, and it's just a lot of work. You know, it's just too much work. I don't have these ring light things. You know, I don't have time for all that. Some girls are very good at it. You know, and they like doing it, and they still want to be in front of the camera. I prefer to use my brain and do my work, and you know,
I
and
agree.
kudos to them. And I want to say hi to Esme because she's on. And
Oh,
Esme,
hi, Esme.
we were just talking about you before we got on. So big hug to you
Remember
because
Southampton.
so yeah, but Joey, yeah, it's just not the same as it was back in the day. Um, yeah,
Well, I, I got out of it. Well, I really didn't get out of it. I kept my hand in it. I do a lot of things, but I don't represent
right,
uh, people. I do have a little management company, and I work with somebody on young kids,
right,
and that's about it. But basically, a wealth of information, as you would say, being in the
yeah, of
business so
course,
long and being involved as an outsider. And that's how I've stayed relevant and stayed up to date of what's going
yeah,
on. And I really feel that it's become a very, very young business, but we were young.
yeah, we were
And
babies, yeah,
I think as you've gotten older, you've grown out of it, or if you've grown out of the business. Like, I don't know what's a good type today. Whereas
yeah,
back then, I did know what was a good type. But
right.
today, I couldn't tell you. I could only look at the standards that they go by and say, she looks good or he looks good,
Yeah,
Uh,
but Joey, what is look good? I mean, back in our day, it was like you know who was
yes,
pretty and who wasn't. Now I don't even know. I mean, I see these images on magazines or ads, and I'm like, okay, I don't understand. I don't
yes,
get it because we were used to a different
yes.
thing, and and it's a huge difference now. Everybody and anybody can be a model or do whatever it is that they're doing now. I don't know what it is.
In the men's business, it was simple. 6 foot,
Right.
40 regular, period. If you
Yeah.
were a 40 regular 6 foot and you had a good look, man, you were a model.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's all changed. That's completely changed. And
Right.
we did it for a reason, because all the clothing were fit a 40 regular and a 6 footer.
But
And the
no, and
same
I
with the
don't. Well,
females.
no, and when I did American Vogue Couture, it was this big,
Yeah.
and I was thankfully thin. I always was, always have been. But there's some girls that weren't and couldn't do the couture. But yeah, and that's it. You just had to be a normal. I'm going to call it a normal size because
Right.
we could go into this, and that's a whole nother
That's
subject
another
for me.
hour.
That's another hour. But and the girls were thin, and you did couture, and it was great. And they weren't too thin, though. I mean, we were just, skinny girls, skinny baby girls. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Let me ask you, did you ever work with any celebrities? And what did you
I
think
worked,
of them?
oh, I worked with Michael Douglas, with Wanakee, who I love, love, love. Me and Wanakee were with Michael Douglas. Oh, and then Kathy Ireland. So the three of us were in LA, and Michael, for some reason, we shot with Michael Douglas, and I'll never forget, because you remember Kathy Ireland,
Yeah.
who's phenomenal and had a body of, yeah, a body.
She had a body.
The most incredible body ever. Well, he couldn't keep his eyes off her body, so it was pretty. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny, and of course, I'm the skinny blonde girl. He wanted nothing to do with me, but and Wanakee was Wanakee, and we Wanakee and I used to just laugh so hard. We had a great time together.
I'm sure. I'm sure he did. I was wondering if he brought in Jack Nicholson because they were really good friends
Oh,
at the time.
no, no, I do have a story, Jack, because I used to hang out on the Upper East Side with this certain person, not to name names, and Jack would call and say, "What girls do you have over there tonight?" So, and he'd be like, "Well," and so yeah, Jack called this friend of mine quite often looking for girls.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
He dated a lot of models. Jack dated a lot of models. Michael
right,
Douglas dated a lot of models.
yeah.
Uh, they were part of that
I
model
don't know.
dating group, Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. It was pretty creepy, actually. So
it was a
anyway,
good
but I
time.
I never went near Jack Nicholson. So
Well, uh, I don't. I don't really have much more to ask you. I think we covered a lot of ground here.
we did cover a lot of ground, and I can't thank you enough, and Era, for having me on. This was really so much fun to talk about the old days. And Joey, always great to talk to you in person, because I always see you at our party, which we're going to have again in the spring, the Harry Nancy party. So
Oh,
I'm going to send an
terrific.
invite.
We're going to
Yeah.
have another
So
reunion.
yes, we are. This will be our 14th reunion.
Oh,
So in
that's
the spring, we'll all
beautiful.
get together again.
I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
wait. Maybe through this program, we'll hook up, we'll announce it to other models who were from our era so we
Yeah.
could all reunite, And the
Well,
last time it was very big. We had a lot of people. How many
oh
about?
God, we have over 100, 150. And the thing is this, it's spreading now to the younger set, because my son always comes with his wife and my nieces and nephews. And so we want to keep it, the young people keep coming in, and, hopefully my son will continue to carry the party on. But it's wonderful to
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
the young and old. Well, we're old. I have to say we're old now.
The old. We're old.
Yeah, but we're
You're a kid
still,
compared to me. You're a
yeah, well,
kid.
I know, but look at you, you look great. But,
And you know what I like about the parties is that we get a lot of
oh,
photographers from our
yeah,
photographers, stylists. We get
no,
even
makeup
reps, even
artists,
photographers, reps come.
no, and the hairdressers, no,
Oh,
it's just,
hairdressers, makeup artists,
no,
everybody.
when we get the art directors, it's a great time, and it's always in the spring. We always have it the same time. So everybody who's listening, please come. The invite, I just throw it out on Facebook and Instagram. So please come.
Yeah,
It'll
we're
be a
going to have a good
blast.
time. Well,
Yeah,
Nancy, I love you. It
love you,
was
Joey.
great. And
All
thank
right,
you for coming.
of
And I'll
course.
see you soon.
All
All
right,
right?
Joey. A
You
big
take
hug
care
to
of
you.
yourself.
All
Bye.
right, thank you. Bye bye.